Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to tell you that the school board is getting criticized, or it appears that it's getting criticized over the books that are in the library. So much so that they have decided to release a video talking about the school books and how they are selected and their rigorous process. Now, I've done 2 delegations on this, and the books that I was reading had pretty, to say, explicit scenes in the books. So you can check those delegations out. I'm going to link them in the description below on my YouTube channel if you're watching over there. Now, we all know that these school books, there's a lot of them, a huge list, and they're highly inappropriate, and they aim to sexualize children, get them thinking about their sexuality, what their preference was, and a lot of these books too, they talk about this notion that gender was assigned at birth and that the doctor was guessing. Now, first of all, it's sex that is observed at birth, and this gender thing, we used to think that sex and gender are one of the same, but then, once you go down this rabbit hole of endless possibilities and trying to put everything under a label, then they bring in gender and all that nonsense. Anyways, this stuff is not assigned at birth. This stuff is observed at birth. And during these books, they aim to basically tell students that you can be whatever you want sexually. And this really confuses kids, because if you do not have stability in your beliefs, then it just throws you off, and it leaves you vulnerable to all sorts of weird ideas about what you are and not accepting yourself. Anyways, I've criticized these books quite a bit, but this video, I asked the librarian to give me their thoughts about what they saw. So I'm going to go through a few slideshows and just read the librarian's responses to this. So the Waterloo District School Board says that library books and materials are usually suggested by vendors and publishers. And what this librarian said, follow the money. If we're being honest, this is the ultimate reason what dictates the books that are being purchased. If it was all about the students we were actually interested in, libraries would have been purchasing those books. But instead, the incoming books are almost entirely on the topics of diversity, equity, and inclusion and related topics. Waterloo District School Board says we also receive suggestions from staff members and the school community. While it is true that book purchases requests can be submitted, most librarians have to use their very small budget to replace books that have been lost or damaged, especially when high interest books are missing. The librarian also says it is important to note that just because books are requested by a school librarian doesn't mean that they will get the books. The decision is still made by the board level and those library services responsible for book purchases. School board says generally we pick books and other resources that reflect the board's position on equity, inclusion, and human rights. The librarian says, what are they saying generally? When do they not pick books that reflect the board's position on equity, inclusion, and human rights? I mean, these are the kind of books, like everything is not about education anymore. It's just about indoctrination with this DEI. The Waterloo District School Board also picks books that represent diverse perspectives, experiences, and viewpoints. And the librarian said, would like to know what recent purchases have been made that reflect conservative Christian values or that reflect racialized groups that don't align with current majority views. Yeah, I mean, they're pretty much on a narrative over here at the school board. The Waterloo District School Board says materials may be weeded for a variety of reasons, such as the content is outdated or inaccurate. The librarian says this is considered a bit of a joke, as many libraries have been waiting years for a weeding process to be done. The fact of the matter is that two digital literacy support teachers who oversee the Waterloo District School Board's elementary libraries simply cannot accomplish this task. Waterloo District School Board says, we select materials that we believe are suitable for the age and maturity of our students at elementary and secondary levels. The librarian says, on what basis? This remains a key unanswered question. And of course, I've done my delegation on this, where students are able to access explicit materials online. And during a recent motion put by trustee Cindy Watson for the trustees to give a report on what is, or for the trustees to receive a report on what is in the school library, they have voted to not provide the report, aka not hold themselves accountable. So to say that the material is age appropriate, I don't think so. That's why I talk at the school board. All right, the Waterloo District School Board have the right to determine which books their children may read and are always welcome to return a book. The librarian said, students are often encouraged to look at and read their books at their desk once they sign it out. So by the time the library book gets home and a parent sees it, it may be too late if there was content that a parent didn't want a child to see. The librarian continues, and that is if the book even goes home at all. In many cases, students just keep the library book in their desk and a parent would never know what they are reading or looking at. This doesn't even begin to address what ebook students could be accessing on their Chromebooks with parents never knowing. And this is very true because my daughter, my older one, hasn't brought home library books very often. Although we do visit the library and we always sign out books, I always encourage her. But she leaves the books at home, and as far as I'm concerned, I don't even know what she signs out. Waterloo District School Board says, you can also bring ideas or raise concerns by contacting your school's administration team. The librarian says, I have heard from several parents who have attempted to speak to admin about book concerns, including my own family member who is also a teacher. They have all received very similar, seemingly rehearsed statements in response, along the lines of, quote, these book decisions are made at the board level, or, quote, there's nothing I can do, or, quote, we need books where all kinds of people see themselves represented, never actually addressing the concern of age appropriateness. Yep. Waterloo District School Board says, when we receive suggestions or hear concerns from parents, students, or community members, we take time to review. The librarian says, how is it being done since admin are brushing parents off when they meet with them? And if the trustees or senior level board staff are shutting down delegates when they try to raise concerns or ask questions? Where is the proof of these supposed reviews that have been done? Is there any documentation to support this? Who are the people doing these reviews? Dr. Seuss books were pulled from the shelves within the past few years. Surely there must be documentation supporting these storybooks that went through a review that deemed them unfit for children to read. I mean, we can clearly see the hypocrisy of the Waterloo District School Board, how they say, are you looking to ban books? Meanwhile, they're banning Dr. Seuss. So, what do you think about that? I mean, this video that the Waterloo District School Board put out, honestly, is just pure propaganda nonsense, trying to assure parents that everything is okay. And if it was up to the Waterloo District School Board and people listening to them, parents would think they never had it better, when in fact, it's never been worse. There's absolutely zero accountability. The Waterloo District School Board constantly votes themselves out of being accountable for anything. They don't want to provide reports. Books are being accessed or can be accessed that are age inappropriate by students in elementary school. There's books about sexuality and encouraging minors to talk about sexuality with depictions and illustrations and all that stuff. I've talked about this stuff at length, and this stuff, I'm wondering if it falls under education or entertainment. I honestly don't even know. If you found this interesting, I would encourage you to share this just so other parents can see what is happening, because these videos are getting censored hard. Please subscribe because I follow the school board closely. And until next time, take care. Why are my daughters constantly encouraged to discuss or disclose their sexuality, orientation, or gender identity among fellow students or staff? Why are staff or community members discussing or disclosing their sexuality or gender identity to my daughters? Why do third-party visitors, educators, speakers, or organizations in the school encourage a discussion with my daughters or in the presence of my daughters to disclose their sexual orientation or gender identity? Why is the education material or reading material distributed and made available to my daughters that encourages discussion or disclosure of sexual orientation or gender identity? It is nobody's business. Why does the board and leadership have policies, procedures, guidelines, materials, practices in place with punishments to silence opposing concerns regarding the constant child sexuality focused, and even working together with government-funded organizations to go as far as celebrate and facilitate medical mutilation and sterilization of children before they have a chance to start a family? When will the school shift the focus from sexuality and political nonsense to teaching academics? And once again, I ask, why is the board continuing to openly facilitate child abuse?
I'd like to forward this delegation's questions to staff, and that they would respond directly to the delegation and that he would get the answers to his questions. I think the questions are valid and he deserves to have the answers.
Thank you. That is 4 in favor and 6 opposed. That motion is defeated.